So today I want to teach you guys about how to trade the news. I mean, when it comes to the trading community, so many traders are always fascinated about trading the fundamental news. And particularly, we have so many traders always excited to trade the NFP, which represents the non-farm payroll. So NFP is basically the fundamental news that covers the unemployment rate change in the United States. And the beautiful thing about NFP is that it's always announced on the first Friday of every new month. So basically, every country announces their unemployment rate, but when it comes to the United States, they have specifically chosen a routine way of announcing their unemployment rate or unemployment change. They like to always announce it in the first Friday of every new month. So it kind of creates that anticipation among the trading community. Every trader is always looking up to trading the non-farm payroll. It's actually one of the most volatile moments in the market where you have a lot of traders very active on the market. Now, one thing that particularly makes me like fundamental news trading, as I explained in so many of my concepts, the aspect of instant gratification. Trading is such that it always provides instant gratification. Instant gratification is, let's say, just having the moment of entering a trade and expecting to know if you're right or wrong within the next minute, right? So normally when you take a trade on technical basis, you can just take the trade and then you'd have to wait for like 1 hour, 2 hours, sometimes a whole day while the trade is going through a gyration period, not necessarily moving in the direction you expect, or perhaps even moving in the direction you expect, but in a very slow way. But when it comes to fundamentals, we all know that the news is so hot, the fundamental is just active. So the moment your position or your bias is determined during when the fundamental is being announced, you're likely to know within the next couple of minutes or seconds if you're going to make a lot of money or you're going to actually lose money. So fundamental trading has become a buzz and so many people want to participate, including myself. But it's very essential that as a trader, you come in knowing what you're doing. And that's why I'm shooting this video in anticipation of NFP, which is today, so that you guys can prepare beforehand and know what to do when you have situations like that. So first of all, we're going to do is we're going to explain into details how to think about the fundamental in the first place. So the most obvious place that you want to get this fundamental data, I like to use the Forex Factory, right? So if you go to Forex Factory, all you want to do is first you want to filter out to just get the relevant fundamental information. So I like to always check off this ash folder news and the yellow folder and leave only the brown and red folder, and there you just apply the filter. Right, once you apply that, all the news events you get are only the most relevant ones. And funny enough, we always get the Canadian dollar almost always in sync with the announcement of the fundamental change for the USD as well. So here you can see initially fundamental for unemployment change is also revolving around the Canadian dollar unemployment rate. Then beneath it, we have the United States non-farm unemployment change and unemployment rate, right? So basically you can see here that we have what non-farm employment change and then the unemployment rate. And there's actually a striking difference between non-farm employment change and unemployment rate. Just like the name suggests, employment change. So it kind of looks at the jobs that were created in the previous month compared to the new jobs that have been created in the new month, right? And unemployment rate basically talks about the rate of unemployed people living in the US as at that time. It's quite interesting to know that with the current fundamental that is just about being announced, last month we have 12,000 jobs that were created. Only 12,000. It was very strange because the average job creation on the US market always revolves around the 200,000 range, but to see 12,000 was a surprise in the trading community. It's surprising to see that we have an additional 206,000 jobs being created, right, which makes it standing at 218,000. So that actually shows what a massive improvement in the job creation market in the US. And if this data should be as it is, then it automatically means that what we should expect some strength in the dollar. Wouldn't it be so? But it's also well to know that there was basically no difference in the unemployment rate, right? Only that a lot more jobs were created. Unemployment literally stays the same, so it can be a little bit tricky with that, right? Now, the most important part that I want you guys to really understand is that sometimes I get people getting confused about the previous and then the actual and the forecast. Now, previous is obviously what happened or what the current data is. Forecast is what the trading community is anticipating, and for the most part, these forecasts are being forecasted by professionals in the industry, people who know what they're about. They understand the market, they have their ears on the ground, they have strong connects and linkage in the market to know how close the data would be. So most speculators are looking at how the actual is going to be so close or far off from the forecast, not the previous. I used to make that mistake back in the days when I would think that, okay, how come the actual is this compared to the previous and then the market is going sideways? No, the market is actually comparing itself to the forecast. So now that we have this forecast sitting at 218k, if the actual comes and it's actually 218k, then the market is in favor of that fundamental, and then we expect US dollar to be strong in that sense. But if the actual is far off than the forecast, then we could have the market behaving in an opposite way. Let's say the actual comes out and it's, let's say, 50k, right? That's a big deviation from what traders anticipated, and that's going to lead to a weakness in the dollar, right? So once you get this logic or this understanding overall, most times when it comes to fundamental events, I like to focus on 3 instruments. Particularly, I like to focus on XAUUSD, I like to focus on GBPUSD, and I like to focus on EURUSD. My choice for this is that they are linear in nature or correlative in nature, because obviously all of them have USD as the code currency. So it means that when there is weakness, then you see all of this instrument trading upwards, and when there is strength, then you see all of this instrument trading downwards. It does not make my analysis cumbersome, and it makes it pretty straightforward to tell where the fundamental is going to go. So looking at situations that I've explained relating to non-farm payroll with USD and then the unemployment change we're expecting, which is like 216 jobs being added, which is leaning towards positives or strength in the US dollar, then I'd expect that when you come here, all of these other charts would be trading downwards. So we kind of expect that we'll see EURUSD continue trading downwards, right? Just like it has exhibited here. And then we would see GBPUSD also trade downwards. And then finally, we would also see XAUUSD also trade downwards, right? But the trick is, for you to be safe as a trader, you always want to wait for that fundamental to be out before you make any decision. Most times you get traders really trying to jump ahead of themselves in the game. But ideally, I've analyzed this market and I've observed that the best way to go about this approach is when you are very active seated on the market, watching and refreshing this page when the fundamental is up, which is like 5:30 p.m. Dubai time, which is going to be like 1:30 p.m. GMT. And then once the fundamental is actively announced during that time, then you quickly use that interpretation that I've given you to come here and see if the market is trading in the direction you anticipated. Then you jump in on the trend, quickly make your money and exit the market. So all the time you get me just being active on the market, watching what is going on, refreshing, and just when the fundamental is released, and if it comes out as expected, as speculated, as anticipated, then I trade in the direction that the market is saying or that the fundamental is saying. And if it's deviating from what I perceive, then I stay out of the market. I hope this guides you and give you a good basis on how to trade fundamental. And I want you to win, and I want you to master this as well. So without saying much, if you like this video, smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, click in the link in the description to join the Good Friday Telegram community, because when